welcome. You're watching Business Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing action on the D Street. Well, it's rather panned out to be a choppy day, but towards the end of the session, we are seeing signs of green emerge on the D Street. The second half has turned out to be stronger than the first half of trade. We're now near the day's high point as far as the Nifty is concerned, 0.4% higher at 24,640. As you can see, nearly 100 points up on the Nifty right now. Now, when we look at the key contributors which are supporting the market sentiments and the Nifty today, you have HDFC Bank that's contributing 31 points on the higher side, Reliance Industries that's contributing 26 points, Bharti Airtel, Eternal, Infosys, Geo Finance, these are all the top contributors on the Nifty right now. All the sectors barring real estate, which have been in an uptrend over the last couple of sessions, are now up and about in trade. You can see the small caps that are rallying sharply, 0.8% higher. Even oil and gas, which was the top losing sectoral index yesterday, has improved, and you can see 0.8% uptick for this one as well. Broader markets doing much better than the benchmark indices. You have metals, IT, PSU banks, consumer durables, all of them in good action at this point in time. 0.5% uptick even for the PSU stocks right now. Key pockets that are really rallying sharply in trade are defense and railways. Those are the pockets that we will also focus on with our guest today. Let me also welcome our guest on board to help you understand the key outlook on the markets and the strategies he's following. Kunal Rambhia, founder of The Streets, is now with us on the show. Hi Kunal, good afternoon. Good to have you with us. Well, after 3 days of consecutive losses, finally we are seeing some signs of green emerge on D Street, and that's right ahead of the weekly expiry as well. What do you anticipate for the markets ahead?
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me on the show. So as you rightly mentioned, yes, the Nifty and Bank Nifty both are in fact more or less on the sideways consolidation mode itself. It's been almost a month now that we have not seen much movement in the market, but at the same time, the stock specific movements are definitely very, very strong. On the Nifty, the support to watch out. So I'm just talking about the spot Nifty. The support to watch out will be 24,500 and the breakout is placed at 24,800. And as far as Bank Nifty is concerned, again, the support is at 55,000. The resistance is at around 55,900. Till the time Nifty and Bank Nifty both are within this consolidation zone itself, I'll remain cautious and away from the indices, rather will play on the stock specifics.
Stock specific, a better space to be in at this point in time. We'll start talking about specific stocks then. Let's start up with the top moving stock on the Nifty today, Eternal, 246. Now we have been seeing a very range bound trade for Eternal off late, especially with all the negative news flows that were coming in. The stock was also probably just trying to weather the storm with respect to the changes in the foreign ownership, reduction in the weightage in MSCI FTSE exchanges. But do you finally see that things are now getting digested, stock is ready to move up higher into the next leg now?
Sakshi, again, this counter was the trending counter in 23-24, and after that we saw the price correction as well as the time correction. For the entire year of 2025, if you just have a look at the last 6 months charts rather, this counter has not decisively crossed 245 mark. 245 to 250 zone was a strong resistance. What we saw now is that on 30th May, the volumes were massive. And now this counter seems to be coming out of this sideways consolidation. So any closing about 250 will trigger the new positive rally after this sideways consolidation. So with the stop of 230, I think one can go long on this, but only on the breakout and the closing about 250. We can go long, and the targets can be 285 to 290 again.
Okay, fair point. I hope this has answered a lot of viewers' questions as far as Zomato or Eternal is concerned, one of the popular stocks with all the first-time investors as well. Let's talk about the buzzing sectors then. It's defense and railways, which are again going to be hogging all the limelight. Defense, of course, for the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks or 1 month, we have been seeing a consistent move on the higher side. Of course, led by initial push was done by the geopolitical action that was taking place and renewed set of orders, replenishment coming in. The index is again up by 1.6% and so many stocks are in focus. You have GRSE that hit a 10% higher, fresh record high there. You had names like Cochin, Mazagon, HLBL again in focus, and so many of them, even Idea Forge for that matter, Zen Technologies, so many of them that are again in focus. I want to understand from you, is this the time to book your profits, get out before again there is some kind of a question mark as to whether these valuations will be able to sustain on the higher side, or you would say that if one has actually taken these stocks in a lower levels, it's good to ride on the rally right now.
So, Sakshi, your question itself drafted well, you really drafted well, saying that whether we should book the profits. The biggest challenge for us is us answering whether we should be buying at this elevated level. So, yes,
Yeah.
as you rightly mentioned, if you're already holding, then trail the stop loss and continue with the trend. But new entry at these elevated levels, I'm not really comfortable. So, I'm just talking about HAL, which we discussed near 3,200 also during March when this counter came down significantly, right? And from that level, right now, it's trading at almost 5,000. You're making 66% in this short span of time. Now, these kind of rallies are just those, short-trapped rallies where people keep on shorting, thinking too much of upside is done, and that's the probable reason the counter is going up so much. I'm not comfortable holding these counters at such elevated levels. If someone is comfortable, one should book the profit. Trailing stop loss has to be maintained, and that should be the swing low for HAL. That's 4,800. That can be a good trailing stop loss to hold on. And the targets can be 5,250 to 5,300. But no fresh entry on these counters should be taken at this level.
Okay, got that. So that's as far as the defense pace is concerned. Now, something which is doing a catch up of sorts, railways. It's really not moved up over the last 4 weeks odd. The way defense stocks were up and about, there was constant, questioning as to whether this space will finally find its mojo back. Today, again, there is a very smart momentum across the board. RVNL, IRFC, Titagarh, you name it. All the stocks are again coming back in flavor. But the question is that are there enough triggers to continue to pull up these stocks on a higher zone, and whether things are in the right direction or not? How would you advise on the railway story?
So, as you rightly again mentioned, these counters have not really participated, but they are still within the consolidation itself. Though the volumes are really attractive, but similar volumes we saw 15 days back also. Look at IRFC, this counter is still near the level of Feb and January 2025 itself, and the consolidation still continues. Though the recent move of last 2.5 months is looking positive, but broader consolidation continues. So I think this space is certainly shortlisted to watch out for, but the breakouts are pending. So on IRFC, I think the breakout is at around 150. Above that, one can initiate a buy with the stop of 140. IRCTC again is making higher top, higher bottom in the near times, but the sideways consolidation still continues. The breakout is at around 815. Above that, this entire downtrend might just come to an end. It's too early to be calling this as bottom, but yeah, for long-term investors, I think these are the levels to watch out for. One can initiate buy on dip, and for momentum traders, still time to go.
Okay, got that. So I hope on railways as well, a lot of clarity has been given to all our viewers. Let's again look at some of the stocks that are buzzing beyond these two themes that we have discussed today. On the Nifty 500 basket, I just wanted to throw a few names for all our viewers to see where all the momentum is. Quick Heal Technologies, that's up 17% in trade. You have names like Reliance Infra, of course, there was news there, 10.5% higher from the stocks which are lesser priced. Then you can look at Purvankara from the real estate story, that's up. Swiggy is also up. We discussed about Zomato, but Swiggy is 9% higher in trade. A very smart move can be seen on Swiggy too today. You also have names like Tips Films, Cantabile Retail, Camlin Fine Sciences, All Cargo Logistics, that's also up. Stovecraft is also up and about in trade. Many of these stocks that are hovering higher. Of course, there are some railway names which I am avoiding to take at this point in time, but you can see a lot of action unfold onto these names. Anything from the Nifty 500 basket, Kunal, that you would like to pay attention to?
So, Sakshi, two names which we also shortlisted, and you just mentioned. The first is Quick Hill.
Okay.
Now, why Quick Hill is only because after the significant correction from those 700 elevated levels, this counter was already trading at 240. Sideways consolidation of last 4 months, and now this counter is coming out of it. The breakout was at 325. Now, today it was a flat opening, and then during the market hours, it gave a breakout. It's trading right now at 350. So, with the stop of 320, one can definitely buy this counter as of now. even this counter can be accumulated on dip. The positional target on this can be 450 to 475. And the second is Swiggy, which you mentioned along with Zomato, right? So this counter was again in complete downtrend since IPO listing. I mean, not after IPO, since December 2024. From 600, this counter came down to 300, sideways consolidation, and today is the first sign of consolidation breakout. So with the stop of 325, this can also be bought. The first immediate target is 395 to 400, and above that the targets can be 450. So these are the two stocks which we have also shortlisted, and we have also initiated the trade there.
Okay, fair point. We'll keep an eye out on that too. Let's look at some of the other stocks that we can look at, or the sectors specifically as well. Today, you're also looking at the oil and gas story also doing well. Remember, yesterday this was the top losing sector. Gas names: Indraprastha Gas, Gujarat Gas, they are in focus. You have Oil India. You also have GSPL, HPCL. They are in the buzz today. Apart from this, you're also looking at metals. See some bit of shine return to them. You have Lloyd's Metals, Hindustan Copper, Steel Authority, Vedanta, Hindalco, all of them also up and about. Any suggestion on the metal space, Kunal? There has been again a lot of talk about fresh tariffs, higher tariffs on the metal imports in the US. Have you assessed the impact on any exporters within the country? What could be the impact there, since today is the day when the implementation has happened of 50% tariffs?
So markets are always smart enough to discount these factors. Now let's just talk about Tata Steel, because there are very few counters which we actually track in this. The first is Tata Steel. Just last 1.5 months, the counter is up by 32%, and without any small decline in between. Mind you, just 2 or 3 days of consolidation was seen somewhere in the month of May, but otherwise this remained trending counter. Now, such counters when go up significantly, generally we see the pullback also happening. So Tata Steel is a counter which we have shortlisted not to initiate buy, but actually to go ahead with sideways strategies. So during the second half of the month, we will be creating straddle on this and with the long on futures. But by any chance, if the counter comes near 145, that can be considered as a buying opportunity. Same is the case with JSW Steel. Counter is completely in sideways consolidation, reaching near the support level of 950. That can be the good level to think of initiating buy. But again, here, if someone is now trying to play the momentum on this sector, I think now the sectoral shift is happening. People have started looking at the other sectors also. So metal might not be in that limelight, and that's where the option strategies can really do wonders.
Okay, got that. So that's the metal story. Let's also discuss the heavyweight ones, IT and banks next. IT, we are seeing some kind of a momentum return after a bit of volatility. Oracle Financial, LTI, Mindtree, Coforge, Tech Mahindra, Infosys, Quick Heal was already marked out earlier by Kunal as well. Persistent, Wipro, Emphasis, these are all in the buzz. Within the IT pack, especially the large caps, any fresh view that you can suggest?
Absolutely. We are just bullish on Infi and TCS. These are the two counters which we bought at very, very low levels. In fact, for Infosys, our buying was at around 1385, 1390. The only reason being it was available near the bottom of June and July 24. And that just turned out to be perfect. As of now, sideways consolidating, and the momentum might just pick up anytime soon. So the level to watch out on Infosys will be 1600. If the counter manages to cross about 1600, I think with the stop of 1525, one can definitely buy, and the positional targets can be 1750. And similar is the formation on the TCS charts. Sideways consolidation. This time in last 4 to 5 days, we have seen some kind of profit booking also. But right now it's on the support with the stop of 3350. One can certainly initiate a buy. The first trigger, which is the target, is 3600, and above that 3800. So these are the two heavyweight counters which we are also bullish on, and we are holding in our portfolio as of now.
Okay, got that. Let's look at some of the other stocks. Okay, let's look at FNO. Some interesting names apart from the railways that are again pulling up. Remember, we were discussing Zomato, but something in the new age tech space is buzzing completely. You can see PB FinTech now up by about 5 odd %. There are other names also, Power Space, you have CESC, Jubilant Foodworks after a long haul is also pulling up, APL, Apollo Tubes, again Titagar from the railway pack, Dixon Tech is up, many stocks within that, but PB Fintech is what I wanted to come to. How are you looking at PB Fintech? It's been long out of sight, but are things coming back to the right path?
Absolutely. Actually the story evolved negative for the counter during March, Jan and March era. But after that,
Yes.
again, the trend continued and the stock actually made bottom at around 1350 and now it's trading at 1850. It's clearly making higher top, higher bottom. So yes, this counter can be bought on declines. So the for fresh entry, I think the stop loss is 1750. Even at this level, if someone is comfortable taking the risk of around 80 to 90 points, this can be bought even at today's price. The targets can be 2100 to 2150 again because it's a trending counter. So in trending counter, what I always suggest to all our viewers regularly is that keep trailing the stop loss rather than keeping the targets in mind. Keep the stop loss in place and keep trailing that. There might be surprise because the trend might just continue even for long. So for now, stop loss is 1750 to 1760. Keep that in mind and create the position. I think this is a trending counter which can deliver much more.
Okay, deliver much more. We'll keep an eye out on that. Let's look at some of the other spaces as well. Let's also talk about one more individual stock, and that's Geo Financial Services, 2.2% higher in trade. Now, all those investors who had Reliance Industries, before the company carved out from the space and got listed, those people have by default had geofinance in their portfolios. There were many others who also bet big on this NBFC story that could grow further, and they invested along the way when the stock was in consolidation. Any fresh views on geofinance that you can suggest to us? Where is the stock at currently? How long before we see some remarkable moves here?
So, we were lucky enough to see the IPO pricing again. That was somewhere in the month of Feb. And this counter came down to 205 levels. And from there, it's now at 290. And the trend is absolutely strong and intact. In fact, the volumes are also really good when the markets are going positive. So that confirms the market participation being on the bullish side. So as of
Yeah.
now, the trailing stop loss on this is around 280. With that, one can even create the fresh position today because today's move is eliminating last 2 days bearish move also. So yes, it can be bought with the stop of 10 points on the lower side. Upside target for the trader is 310. If someone is staying positional on this, then the targets can be 345 to 350 also.
Okay, got that. Taking the next question with you, Kunal, and that I wanted to discuss on specifically the auto space at large. Why I wanted to discuss this is just like, a few days back we had the auto sales figures coming in. Again, a mixed bag of sorts, but at least some green shoots on exports emerging. That has been a big pain point. Even on the two-wheeler space, there has been minor uptick on a month-on-month space when it comes to the sales figures. Auto for at least last 2 years has been facing a lot of headwinds, and there hasn't been a stretch where we actually have seen the stocks continuing to soar higher for a long period of time. It's always like a few days and then there is some negative news that pulls back the stock. How would you really look at the auto space at this point, both four wheelers, two wheelers, even beyond even the auto ancillaries?
See, I absolutely agree. The momentum is completely missed out on the entire sector. And as you rightly mentioned, last 2 years were really painful. In fact, if someone is watching at the price after 2 years, they must be feeling that the prices are at the same level. But in between, we saw
Correct.
the significant uptick and the downtake also. So the two-wheeler space, I think the momentum is already started to pick up. The upcoming results might see some kind of the lackluster sales because of monsoon now arriving. But overall, I think the base effect is very, very low, so which will have a positive impact on the two-wheeler segment. But on four-wheeler segment, we are specifically looking at only one stock, and that's Tata Motors. This is the counter which we, I think, discussed in the past with Shelser also. The support was at around, the breakout was at around 675. Valuations were pretty cheap. This counter made low at around 550. From that level, clear higher top, higher bottom. I think very limited room on the lower side. So I think the stop loss can be the positional stop on this on Tata Motors can be 650 to 665. Keep accumulating on decline. I think the downside is already done. If the counter manages to close above 750, then I think we will see the levels of 950 to 975 also. We are extremely bullish on Tata Motors. And on other counters, we have kept watch. Bajaj Auto and Hero are also the preferred bets, but not initiated any trade on this. Tata Motors is something which has shown the trigger we discussed on our show in the past also. I think that can outperform the entire pack now.
Okay, got that. Let's look at some of the other spaces as well. Where else can we really look for something? Okay, banks is something that I wanted to discuss, especially on the PSU banks, the recovery that's taking place. Of course, so far, what we have seen, Kunal, is that from the recent lows of below 22,000, it's the large private sector banks, ICICI, HDFC, that have really led to the recovery in the Nifty bank as well as on the Nifty too. But PSU banks were so far still underperforming. There's finally some signs emerging on the PSU banks. Do you think the erstwhile period of smart gains across the board beat the frontline PSU stocks or the middle of the order as well? Can they all again see a light of move like that we had seen in the past? I think everybody on the retail investors list had one or two of the PSU banks in their portfolios for sure, and then they have been like sitting on a lackluster move for a fairly long time. What exactly are you advising?
See, 2022-24 was the dream run for PSU banking, and the stocks delivered crazy returns. And then, of course, the sector rotation came into picture, and there was some kind of underperformance. But if you ask me right now, I'm very bullish on PSU banking again. The preferred counters on this are Ken Bank, PNB, Indian Overseas Bank, Bank of Maharashtra. They are doing phenomenally well, and the volumes are picking up really good. Now, PNB already ran up from those 85, 90 levels to 120, 110 kind of levels. I think Canara Bank has also moved up significantly. It's trading at 118. The breakout was at around 102, 103 kind of levels. So I think now it's the time for those lower mid, size banks like IOB and Bank of Maharashtra. I think they can do phenomenally well even from the present levels. Volumes, look at the volumes. These volumes are highest volumes recorded in the last 6 to 7 months again. So yes, the preferred bet is IOB, which is trading at around 41.20 with the stop of around 35. 36 one can go long, and the targets can be as high as 55 to 56. Bank of Maharashtra is the another counter where we are extremely bullish with the stop of around 52. One can go long, and the targets can be 65. So these are two preferred bets as of now in the entire PSU banking team. I think that outperformance is likely to continue even going forward.
Got it. Okay, so the two stocks, I hope everybody's really noted that down. Let's talk about some of the other spaces too. I wanted to discuss even pharma. Again, a story of successful past is what we do know, at least in 2024, the kind of rally that we had seen. It was missing at least for the last 8 months now. Finally, are you seeing some improvement here as well? We had seen, I think, Divis Laboratories, diagnostic chains also move up substantially in the last few weeks. But is the rally across the board, or is it very, very stock selective?
Absolutely, it's very stock specific. In fact, the new counter which we are now witnessing as the momentum picking up is the Glenmark Pharma after the trial one update which we saw yesterday. Yes. So I think this counter is now coming out of that broader consolidation of last 3 to 4 months. The breakout is placed at around 1560 to 1565. Above that, one can go long on Glenmark. Sun Pharma is the another counter which is available right near the support. So very minimum downside. So from present levels of 1660, I think the downside can be max 100 points. Upside can again be 250 to 300 points. So yeah, it's going to be very stock specific. I will not touch upon Divis as for the obvious reason being the risk reward ratio is unfavorable. But yeah, the stock specifics are likely to continue. We are selecting. We have shortlisted two. The first is Glenmark, where I mentioned the breakout, and second being Sun Pharma, because there is no momentum, but it's near to the support. So these are the two preferred bets right now.
Okay, so that's the pharma story for you. 324. Kunal, any BTST, STBT trades that you'd like to highlight for our viewers towards the end?
Absolutely. So, Sakshi, the first one is the chemical space, and that's fertilizer and chemical space. That's RCF. Now, this counter is trading right now at around 160.5, 161 kind of levels. Yesterday's volume, and now the reason for shortlisting this counter is that yesterday's volume were the highest volume recorded after June 2024. Obviously, reason being the monsoon season is coming up, and that's how the price moved yesterday. So, with the stop of 150, one can initiate buy on RCF, and the target can be 185 to 190. That's the positional target. Second is Kaveri seed. Now, this is the counter which we have discussed multiple times, even in the past. With the stop of around 1400, one can go long on Kaveri seed. The targets can be this time again 52 weeks high, that's around 1600 to 1625. The third is Indigo Paints, which has picked up the momentum in last 15 to 20 days. In fact, today it opened flat and now it's trading near the high of the day with the stop of around 1040. One can go long on Indigo Paints also. The positional targets are 1225 to 1230. So these are three counters which I'm which are on our watch list for next 15 to 20 days. Even going forward, the approach will be to trail the stop loss and hold the position rather than booking the profits.
Got it. And right in the end, Kunal, help us understand with a strategy on the markets. Then you did start off by saying that instead of the benchmarks or the frontline indices, you'd rather stick with sectors or stocks. How do you see the Nifty really pan out for the June series that we are in right now? And if you had to name one or two sectors where you're most bullish on, what would those be?
So Sakshi, the Nifty has straight away gone up by 15% in last 2 months, and without much of a dip. Even when we saw this black event in Indian situation that was on 22nd April, but still there was not much of a decline in the market and just kept on going positive. So I think for first half of June, I think we might see some kind of profit booking on indices. I will stay away, only reason being the trend is positive, but these elevated levels are not giving so much comfort. So I'm looking out for Nifty coming down by say at least 250, 300 points more from the present level to initiate a buy on indices. And the sectors to watch out for will obviously be this fertilizer and chemical space and the railway segment, which we already discussed, and you mentioned that. So these are the sectors to watch out for next 15, 20 days. Buy on dip can be good strategy, and stock specific moves are something to watch out for the first half of June. And if the correction turns out as we discussed, then I think for the second half of month, we will go back to indices and then start trading that.
Fair point. Okay, so we'll keep an eye out on how the markets perform, but fertilizers and railways, the two key momentum sectors that you could actually see a lot of action in the days to follow and the weeks to follow too. Thank you so much, Kunal, for being with us on the show and guiding our viewers through the entire space and what's moving in the markets right now. Let's start wrapping up. 77 points higher. We are back above 24,620 odd mark right now. On the markets, well, we did see a lot of choppiness through the course, but we managed to pull up towards the end of the session, and we are also seeing slight bit of profit booking that took place in just the last few minutes as well of trade. Now, when we look at what has really been supporting the sentiments, broader markets and the stocks within the broader market, small caps, mid caps, those were the stocks that really showed us a lot of momentum. Let's pull up some stocks from the small cap baskets then. Look at the index. It's up by 0.8%. Days high is where it ends at. It's sharply outperformed even the frontline indices. The stocks that are higher, something that Kunal mentioned, railways is where he's positive on. Ircon International 14% higher. That's where the stock really ends in at. Railtel Corporation nearly 12% higher in trade. That's the move that we've seen. Swan Energy up by 9%, Garden Reach ending about 7% higher. This is after seeing some profits after 10% up move. Aster DM Healthcare, Rights again from the railway space, 6% higher. International Gemological Institute, one of the recently listed stocks, 5% up. CESC again from the power space, about 4.5% higher. Reliance Power from the same space, up and about. Titagarh Rail and JWL from the railways pack, also up and about as well. Zen Technologies, defense story continuing, and the capital market story also, key fintech. So it's all the erstwhile favorite stocks: capital markets, defense, railways, now fertilizers because of the monsoons. These are the pockets that are probably concentrating all the investors' focus at this point in time. Small caps as the top mover index with over 0.8% gains, mid caps about 0.7% higher. Metals, oil and gas, commodity oriented sectors also garnered traction today. You had IT, autos, PSU banks, consumer durables also up and about. I think real estate is the only one that's seen some profit booking after 2 days of a rally. Top movers on the Nifty, you have Eternal, Geo Finance, you had IndusInd Bank, Bharti Airtel, and you also had names like Bharat Electronics and Reliance Industries that were up. On the downside, Bajaj Finserv, Trent also 1.5% lower. Eicher Motors, Shriram Finance, Axis Bank also slightly lower in trade. F&O space, look at Rail Vikas Nigam, I mean RVNL another 7% higher. Across the board, a very smart momentum on the railway story today. PB Fintech, CESE, they're also coming back. But on the lower end, as far as the F&O stocks are concerned, Coforge, Aditya Birla Fashion Retail, Sona BLW, Chola Mandalam Finance, those were the stocks that declined. PSU stocks largely pulled up by the railway story. The index was up by 0.5%. You also had oil and gas here that was up. Power Space, NTPC, Power Grid, these were the names that were also up and about in trade. We've already marked for you the top gainers in the Nifty 500 basket, so not going on to repeating that. But the Nifty Next 50 list, remember Zomato is the top mover on the Nifty. On the Nifty Next 50, it's Swiggy, 9% higher in trade today. A very smart move on this one. Let's look at Bajaj Holdings. That's another one that moved up. Samvardhan Motherson, LTI Mindtree, CG Power, Dabur, all of them also showing us some gains on that front. When we look at the NBFC space, well, you'll actually see the broking houses space, KFintech, CAMS, CDSL, Motilal Oswal, Geo Finance, names like 361 MAM, Anand Rathi, Geojit, these are all coming back in flavor yet again. So that's how the screen is frozen, 24,620, a positive close after 3 days of a weakness. So we are snapping that 3 days of a weakness on D Street. Tomorrow is when the weekly expiry hits. Let's see how things progress after we see progress. Overnight, remember day one of implementation of tariffs as far as the metals are concerned. So some more statements are awaited from the US government on day one, and we'll see whether there is any sign of going back on 50% order on the metals tariffs that has been already signed, and any progress from EU, China about retaliatory tariffs as far as the metals are also concerned. So all of the global news will also be in much focus. Now stay with us on Business Today Television, even beyond the stock market hours, for coverage from the world of business and finance. Thanks a lot for watching.
Joining me now to look at how India and